Hey everyone, this is weekday coronavirus driven mind stuff. My name is George Ortega and I'm recording this at 6:42 Sunday, May 3rd, 2020. And I hope you guys are doing well. I was on a call earlier, a Zoom. Somebody had a birthday. We threw a birthday party, so it was nice. But, people were beginning to mention that people are beginning to get stressed out a little. So, you know, with that in mind, I hope you're finding ways to remain calm and remain optimistic. As long as we're talking about that, we might as well talk into some reasons why it's a good idea. Well, it's why in many cases, you know, staying worried or becoming worried is not really all that necessary. Again, I can't, it's my way to try to like share information. Sometimes I think I should be talking more about my life, and it is kind of a bit about my life, but this is for example, I'm not like at risk of losing my apartment or my job or work or anything, but a lot of people are. So let's deal with people who, let's say, have lost their jobs, aren't able to pay either their rent or their mortgage. Okay, now think this through with me. I was explaining it to the group earlier, and I was talking to other people because in my group that starts at 9, we explore these things in a lot of detail. So we get to understand what's going on, what to expect. So, okay, if you're renting or, if you can't pay your mortgage, if you've lost your job, people are afraid they're going to be evicted. Now, I'll tell you why that won't happen in either case. Right now, we have 500,000 homeless. Let's just, for New York State, or no, yeah, New York State has, no, wait a minute. No, look, in the entire country has 500,000 homeless. A lot of them are in New York City. But if people would be evicted, the homeless population would go from 500,000 to, I mean, theoretically 10 million or more. It's like the unemployment rate is at 18% now. 32,000 people have already filed unemployment claims. So the idea is like nobody's going to lose their apartment or their house because they lost their job and they can no longer pay their mortgage. It's a good thing to know because, again, to evict people would be so counterproductive. And this is why it's important to talk about these things with your friends, because like the way, and this is becoming more and more clear to me. I understand it. I think I understand it pretty completely. But the more you talk about it, the better you understand it. And what it does, it gives you peace of mind. Knowledge is power. So to the extent that we know what's happening, and we know, the nature of our country and of people, we can predict. We can look into what this is gonna play out like. And actually, I want to shift gears right now because I personally, my knowledge of the world, my knowledge of what's happening, tells me that we're going to create a much, much better world as a result of this. The first point that comes to mind is that there are people in the world who aren't really responsible, who push their weight around, or kind of intimidate other people. And you see this in the streets. If you're walking down a sidewalk and somebody's walking in the middle, not giving your space, you know that they're one of those people. So what's happening? Whoa. Sorry about that. I moved the camera a little, and then my camera went off. Anyway, so yeah, and like, all right, to keep it positive, people, hold on, there's somebody's out there, he's pretending to garden and stuff, but I'm just getting a little distracted. So I closed the window so I can have a bit more peace of mind. So anyway, like this world is going to get a lot better because the people who've been pushing people around for decades can no longer do that. Either financially or physically, like, intimidating people on the sidewalk and stuff. Because, I mean, in other times they were able to get away with that because times were good. It was no big deal. Now it is a big deal. So, but no, that's just the beginning. My God, that's a minor point in a way. For example, I mean, when I see the world changing, what the first thing I see is Zoom. I'm recording this on the Zoom software, and then but I mainly I go to my friends group every day, and I open up my room at 9 o'clock every night, and occasionally I'll visit another room, and so I mean with my friends group, she gets 6, 7, 8, 9 of us, and it's much more of a party atmosphere. With my group, I get sometimes 3, 4, 5, not as many, sometimes maybe 2 or 3, but we get into many more in-depth discussions, which I really like, So both, they kind of like balance each other out. It's the work and play. There's a bit of work and play in each. Okay. So I feel like changing the light a bit. It's getting darker because so like this, my image is going to get darker as, the sun sets. But hold on for just a second. I want to turn on one light, see what happens. All right, I think that may keep the light, good for the shot while the sun's setting. Okay, what else? So all right, let's get back to how the world can be much better. I've talked at length and in depth about how we're going to like end the farming of animals and basically create a pandemic-free world, at least in terms of influenza and perhaps most bacteria. I mean, like that than has ever happened, because of this. In other words, because of clean meat, this cultured meat industry. Again, I've talked about it a lot. So if you want to learn more information, I just don't want to talk about it today for whatever reason. But, the theme is like, I want to try to come up with as many ways that the world is going to get better. So that's one way. Because let's say with a little, I believe in God, and I believe that we have been like mistreating and in many cases torturing, so many animals, 60 billion a year for so long that this is God's way of correcting that, of punishing us. God loves us, but we need to be corrected just like children need to be corrected. So that's, so again, we're going to be a much kinder nation. People are going to understand now that when we stop eating meat and dairy and eggs from animals, we'll still eat it from cultured meat. And who knows, maybe we might advance to where we all become vegan. I mean, that's possible. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but, that's why I'm promoting the cultured meat also, to give people a bit of a chance to make that transition. But I may be mistaken. Maybe people will just abandon meat, dairy, fish, and eggs altogether for the plant-based, which is much healthier, I think, than if we continue eating meat, even if it's clean meat. Okay. So now I want to return to Zoom. In my life, before this, I was like attending classes, religious classes, and attending religious services at 5 different synagogues here in White Plains and another one in Bronxville. And so I was seeing people occasionally, and I had a meditation group that I went to, and I'd see people in town, talk to people on the phone occasionally. But my social life now is so much more active and so much more supportive and so much more fun. I'm, the group that both my friends group and my group, we've been running it for about a month now, maybe perhaps a bit longer. And so both groups are daily groups, so we're getting to know each other really well. And it's a great thing, because we're able to support each other. Like, for example, a woman just told us that, like, her daughter got into NYU, and she was like, this woman doesn't seem like she's all that well off, so it was like a very serious concern for her. And I think her daughter got a full scholarship. Apparently, she's very bright, and so she was worried. And so, like, today, she told us that her daughter came in. I felt so good for her. I told her, wow, that's great. So we're supporting each other in that way. And again, we held the birthday party for one of us. And then another person told us that their birthday is in May. So I didn't ask what day, whatever. But I was like, but we're going to probably celebrate that too. I'm sure we're going to celebrate it. Yeah. Okay. And again, like, I still need to get into the habit of being calm. Well, part of it is I just took an hour walk. So what I did is I just set up the studio, sat down and did this. I should have just, like, sat down or lie down for like 10, 15 minutes to really get calm. So, but that's right. Okay. And, okay, how else is the world going to become much better? Okay. So a lot of people are unemployed, and either the corporations get really creative and start coming up with jobs that are really necessary, not just to their making money, but necessary to what needs to be done. Or the government creates a program like we did in the early 1930s under FDR. Well, actually, that program, I think, didn't come in until 39, if I remember. I think that's what I remember learning. But we can't wait, the Depression was like 29, and like, we can't wait 10 years to create jobs. So, because, like, we have such a much better standard of living, and we're not going to give that up, and we're not going to allow people to lose their standard of living. And the other thing is, like, the people who are losing their jobs are middle class mainly, and so because they're not going to, like, give up what they had, we're also going to, like, house the homeless finally. Because, in other words, like, the middle class is going to be championing on the right for everyone to have housing. And so that means that we're going to create housing for all the homeless. We're not going to have a homeless problem anymore. And half of the homeless have mental health issues, which have pretty much been ignored. Or we've taken the easy route of just subscribing medications, which, they don't take, because, like, these medications are just not so good for you, really, in a lot of ways. And so anyway, I think what I'm trying to say is that we're going to, like, ramp up the mental health services. And that, this is so cool, because, like, our challenge now is about anxiety and depression. And let me relate to you something I related at least one episode ago, before, or maybe twice, but it's this research that was conducted in the 60s and 70s. And let's say this was on depression. So they took a group of people that were depressed, right? Half of them saw a trained therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, somebody who had training in therapy. The other half saw an untrained person. And I don't remember the research exactly. They might have had a few days or a week of training. I don't know. I would hope they would have, because, it would have been helpful. But anyway, what they discovered is that at the end of this experiment, the people who were seeing the professionals and the people who were seeing the non-professionals got over their depression at the same rate. So why am I saying this? Because mental health services can be expensive for people, for insurance companies, for the government. So to the extent that we can have our mental health professionals train us, all of us, to be able to do what they do through Zoom, especially now, of course, right? We can make great strides, actually turn this challenge of being distant and isolated into a way that we can learn how to much better navigate our depression and anxiety than we did before this happened. And then again, like we'll be learning how to support each other, what to say, what not to say, um, awakening our compassion and our listen, improving our listening skills. So anyway, like, yeah, that's another way. Like, the things are going to get better. People are going to learn how to like be calm and happy because it's necessary. We've been relying on things external to ourselves, which work. I'm not, they work very well sometimes, but I think it's generally better to rely on things from within us because they're more in our control. Okay. Um, you got about 12 minutes and 14 seconds to go because then I want to make a phone call. Somebody called me while I was at that party, and like I just got off pretty quickly, and maybe I got off too quickly because I should have. I don't know. Sometimes you do things and you don't know what the right and wrong is. But I think after I'm done with this, I'm going to give that person another call right back, and say, "Hey, where are you? I want to talk with you." Um, so, so what else? Um, and she'll hopefully be joining my group at 9, which would be nice. So, okay, what else? What else? Um, I got, I didn't get to sleep until 4:30 last night because I was Zooming with one other person, um, for 2-3 hours. And then before that, we were Zooming with others, people, just discussing. Again, we always discuss like politics, important things. I mean, sometimes we, get into our personal lives, but anyway, I was on Zoom until about 4:30, and I got to sleep. When did I? Probably by 6. I think I slept pretty well last night, but I didn't wake up until 2 because that's important. I mean, like, and this I've been like this for decades. That sometimes I sleep, sometimes I don't. But when I don't sleep, I'm fortunate to be able to wake up at a later hour. And today was Sunday. I mean, like, other people aren't in that circumstance. I don't work, so because I don't work, I can do that. So it's much more important, I think, for people who do work, who have to be someplace at 9 o'clock in the morning, to get there. And actually, I want to go into this because, like, all right, one of the reasons our world isn't as good as it could be and should be is because a lot of times the people in power aren't the best people. So, and what I'm trying to say with this, just to pull it really quickly back to what we were just talking about, these jobs all start at 8 and 9 and 10 in the morning. And some of us are more afternoon and evening people. I know I am. And so, like, why should all jobs start that early? Because I think a lot of people can't make it in the world because of that. And this goes not just to jobs, it goes to education. And like the school systems across the country have been dismally irresponsible for decades with this. Let me explain this. Um, a teenager, an adolescent, at their period of life, they need more sleep, and they need to sleep later, But when they're forced, because they're processing, so much is going on in their development, physical development, emotional development, so many things that are happening. They need that sleep to process all that. But when we make them wake up at 5 and 6 to get to school by 8:30 or earlier sometimes, that is just like so wrong. And I hope people, I think what we talked about this last night. This is a cool thought. In better times, more easier times, people who aren't all that bright um, move into positions of power. They do it through charisma and through just like stuff that really shouldn't be, that we shouldn't allow them to have that power, but they're not all that bright. That's the point. And so, like, in this time, we can't afford stuff like that. If our teenagers, let's say they're back in school, even in Zoom, and they're, these teachers, these school systems are still making them wake up at 7 in the morning, I hope, you know, unintelligent people who don't see how how misguided, how uninformed that is. I think this is a time where they will be informed. And this is, I don't want to get completely into politics because like basically like, what I'm trying to say is we're shifting from a world that was run by people who aren't all that bright, like Trump, but are very intimidating, aggressive, obnoxious, to uncompassionate, to a world where we can no longer afford that. And so like more intelligent people, and like I want to clarify this. There are two kinds of intelligence, there are many kinds of intelligence, but the people who run this world to a great extent, they have good social intelligence. That's how they get into these positions of power. They kind of schmooze with their superiors, and that's how people, again, gain their positions. We can't afford that anymore. But these people who are socially intelligent, and that's a gift. That's an important skill. They're not very intellectually intelligent. Generally the two are kind of like opposites in a way. So what happens is like, to the extent that they remain in power, they're going to have to kind of like acknowledge to themselves and to their companies and, states or whatever, if it's government, that they're not all that bright. They know how to get things done. So they're going to have to listen to the experts. And sometimes, people who are very bright do also have good social skills, or they may not need them that much. They go into their job, let's say running a company or running a state or something, and everybody knows that they don't have the best social skills, but they know that the decisions they're making are so much more intelligent than the decisions that were made, for so many years before that. Because again, politicians, they really aren't all that bright. I mean, like, you have to take a test to become a lawyer. You have to take a test in 12 years of college to become a doctor. Any bozo can become a senator or a president. I mean, like, my God, I mean, like, Trump is like the amazing, the perfect poster boy for this. The guy is like so dangerously clueless. And like, so if we had a test, and like my friend of mine suggested it shouldn't just be an intelligence test. She pointed out that a lot of these leaders, CEOs of companies especially, they have what's known as psychopathy, sociopathic, psychopathic personalities, where they will do whatever they have to do to advance their company, their own personal ambition, because they don't have empathy. So like, in other words, we need to weed those people out of our positions of power. And so what we were talking about last night, like, one way to do that is to administer a battery of psychological tests, an hour or 2 or 3 of testing. And these tests are designed so the people are not really, they don't really know what they're being tested about. Or even if they do, it's hard to control. It's hard to manipulate these tests. So, again, that's another way that we can like make our world better, by having our leaders be much better people and more intelligent people. Or if they're socially intelligent, then have them understand that they may not be all that bright, with logic. So they'll bring in experts and trust the science and trust their experts. Okay, we've got 4:15 left, 4 minutes and 15 seconds. I gotta still learn how to just like be more calm while I do this, and I'm just checking the mic, because like I once did a show where like I was 20 minutes into it and the mic wasn't on, so whatever. All right, so, and it's 7:06. I'm looking forward to my room at 9. And so tomorrow I want to get some vegetables. I don't go to ShopRite anymore. I go to a local place where there's sometimes 2-3 people in the place, a local vegetable market for cucumbers and my salad stuff. And again, very few people there, so that's a good thing. I've been playing bass guitar. I've been playing, like, I'll play a song or two, and then I'll stop. And that's been going well. What else? I've been attending, the religious talks, and I attended one religious service on Zoom, and I didn't, this was like a conservative synagogue, and it was all in Hebrew. and nobody knows Hebrew. And I don't get how they do this way. You know, very few in the congregation know what they're saying when they're giving these prayers. I like, you know, I like to pray in English because I understand English. I mean, I've never understood this like, oh yeah, Hebrew is such a holy language that that just saying it like, no. This Hebrew Judaism religion is about the understanding. It's not about the language. Okay, it's just like with I meditate and I learn TM, and like in TM they were saying, well, we're going to give you a special word, a mantra. Don't repeat it to anyone. You know, so they mystify it all. And you know, the research has shown that like TM works, but it works with this mantra, the sound that you don't know what it means, and it works if you say the word banana over and over in silent, because that's what transcendental meditation is. You just silently repeat a sound or a word or a phrase. 2 minutes. Okay, this is George Ortega, and you can catch us every Monday through Friday here on White Plains Community Media, channel 76 if you have Optimum, and channel 45 if you have Verizon. And if you haven't caught the shows there, I upload them to YouTube, and I'm generally about a week behind. I didn't actually upload last week's show, so I'll probably do that this week. But and then I'm also upload. Well, all right. So what else? All right, a minute. So I hope you guys are keeping safe. Distance yourself. 6 feet is good. 12 feet is better. 18 feet is even better. Okay, and get out, because like if you get out, you get exercise that makes you healthier. You can get out and be safe from that. You know, just don't go into stores. You know, I mean, like, you know, naturally, if you go into a store, you have to go. But anyway, but like, yeah, get out and use Zoom. You know, learn how to expand your social network, the kinds of people, you know, I'm talking with people that I wouldn't have like talked to before this, but this is such a safe environment. They're in their living room, I'm in mine. And so it's perfect for kind of like expanding our social interactions, our social network. Okay, so like 29 seconds, and I gotta like put this button. I want to try to get as close as, you know, my clock, it's funny because like I say it's supposed to be 28 seconds, but like it turns out to be 27:36 and stuff. I still don't get this. So like I'm gonna do this to the second, and if it doesn't do it to the second, I have no idea why it doesn't. All right, 8, 7, 6. I will see you next time on weekday coronavirus driven mind stuff.